by 3 double stitches, and the chains are just 5 double stitches, picot 5 double stitches. And so to do the last chain, so that we're able to climb out of the row without having to cut and tie, we need to do a split chain. A lot of tatters don't like to do this. They think it's quite difficult. But if you follow a couple of simple rules, it really isn't difficult, and a few practices will make it perfect. So first of all, we make the first half of the chain in exactly the same way as usual. So it's going to be 5 double stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I'm ready to do a picot. But of course, instead of doing a picot, this is where I want my threads to come out of the row. So to make the split chain, I then have to join the core thread to the beginning point at the base of the first ring. So taking my hook, pop it through the little space, a tiny space that I left, draw the core thread through and make a lock join using the shuttle, like so. Now, I'm going to have to leave a thread to work over, and we'll leave just slightly less than the thread that we want to use because the chain tends to stretch. About that much will be fine. So now I can just unwind the shuttle a little bit and then leave the shuttle on its own. Now using my hook, I'm going to draw the thread for the first half of the stitch, taking my hook through the front and catching it from the back to break a loop. Now this is the most important part of the split chain. This loop must not twist, therefore it has to be like so. This is the most important part. This is why a lot of people give up, because if that bit twists, it won't work. Thread the shuttle through from the back, tighten the stitch slightly, but not all the way. About there is fine. Then taking the core thread again, pushing it through the space, catch it with the hook and take it through to the back. You will now see the first half of the stitch making its shape. Draw it up into position. We now have a lovely little loop ready to thread the shuttle through. And that is the second half of the stitch. You draw it up and voila, we have our first stitch. Showing that system again, because obviously we've got 5 stitches to do. That's the first one. Again, from the front, pull the thread through, making sure that that loop does not twist. Threading through from the back, tighten slightly, most of the way but not all the way, and then push that core thread through to the back, using the hook for the final bit. Again, we can now see the first half of that stitch taking shape. So draw it into position. We now have again our loop perfect ready for the second half. So as you can see, it really isn't very difficult, and just a little practice one more stitch to go. Pulling from the front, making sure that that does not twist. push through to the back. And there is our last stitch. Now I could either carry on with chains simply by going like this, but also I could do a split ring. Do it by using the ball thread. For this I would have to turn my work over so that the shuttle thread is at the top to make the first part of a split ring. And if I do, what I need to do is not to take my first half of the stitch all the way up. The idea is to leave the depth of a picot as if there had been a picot there, so that it matches the rest of the work. Second half. Then however many stitches we want, say 5 for instance. So now I have 5 stitches. And using the dead spider method, it is possible to use your ball thread to make the split ring. All that I need to do is to catch the thread with my fingers like that, and then bring the ball through that loop that I have just made. I'll zoom out the camera in a moment. I'll do the second half of the stitch, but I'm zoomed in a bit too close for you to see this. Now that I've zoomed out, you'll be able to see this a little better. What I'm going to do, there is my ball thread. I'm going to take my fingers into the centre of the ring and catch the thread and make a loop. That loop I am now going to bring my ball through like that. That is the first half of the stitch, not quite right, and in the same way as we do the split chain, before you pull it up, take it towards the back, make a new loop and pull the ball through. Everything is now in the correct position to draw up first half, second half. Again, taking from the centre, take a loop, put the ball through, draw it up most of the way, take the thread, push it through the centre, make another loop and take it through. And again, drawing up the first half and then the second half. That is 3 stitches. Four stitches, one more. Pushing it back in, last one through, and now we have 5 double stitches. Draw it up with the shuttle thread, and we have our split ring ready to continue tatting whatever design we want with the rest of the motif.